Hello Zulu people, hello South Africa and the nations of the world. Okay, my name is Bongani Wilbert Mia. I am from the Amazizi tribe of the Zulu nation, the Mia clan. Okay, the issue is metric passes the Zulu nation, the hatred against Zulus and the lies against the Zulu people that have prevailed for many years out of the envy of local black nations against Zulu people. All right. So now I want to speak about the issue of matric results. First of all, ngicela congratulator ukusihalalisela njengesizwe samaZulu ngokuphasa kahle kulonyaka ka2025 futhi siyabonga. And then okuhlungu ukuthi sesiphasile kahle, asizi ukwathola amabhazari ngendlela efanele, asizi ukuthola ama-university admission ngendlela efanele, asizi ukuthola imisebenzi isiqashwe ngendlela esifanele, asizi ukunikezwa ama-loan emabhange to start our businesses. Like sizovinjwa empumelelweni njengoba i-system ebusa South Africa economically yaso lokhu ikwenza kuye yonke iminyaka yobukhona bethu nobukhona be-white capital system, and then ukublockwa kwamaZulu ukuthi angaphumeleli kuwenziwe ngendlela eningi, be it through bursaries, like sengishilo ukuthi singaqhashwa, nganikezwa ama-loan for iy'nkampani zethu, and then ukuthathelwa okwethu, phucwa kwethu, even the land and everything. Those are stratagem that have been used ukuthi isizwe sethu samaZulu singaphumeleli. We've got many enemies, Zulu people. They are ancient enemies. And then we as the Zulu people tried many different strategies to unite black South Africans and to unite Africans. They have all failed. So I think it's always good ukuthi into kade uyizama ingaphumeleli wamukele ukuthi ayiphumeleli and try something else. So here's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be uniting Zulus for Zulu interests. And we've tried for 200 years to unite with them. King Shaka, that was his agenda. Our starting the ANC was the agenda to unite black South Africans. It's not happening. So the more we've tried, the worse it has become. The more the enmity against Zulu people has happened and ravaged only the Zulu people. Okay, saqala business city of Johannesburg as soon as Little Dolopa likhandwa ngo-1886 when white people discovered gold. Now, sakhanda inkampani yamawasha. We know what white people did there, to destroy the company yamaZulu. Zulus were self-employed, so 1,100 as amawasha kwa amaZulu aqhamuka endaweni le yaseNquthu, ibongo zokhanyile kanjalo, were leading there kuleyo nkampani yokuqala yokuthi ikhandwe. It is Zulus who started that company. All right, so sablockwa kwalapho. So the white capital economic system showed right there ukuthi it blocks local blacks, particularly Zulus, from advancing economically. So if you look at the whole economy of South Africa to this very day, it is exactly founded on the premise and the foundation of ensuring that Zulu people get blocked. White people used Indians back then to then replace us. So they brought foreigners from India who were as foreigners themselves as white from Europe to replace us as Zulus in our land as indentured laborers. All right, so let's speak about the truth that indentured laborers were people who were brought from foreign lands to replace local people. All right, so that was the agenda of the white capital economic system, which was founded for colonial reasons. White capital is not South African economy. There's no South African economy. There's white capital economics, which feed Europe, the USA, and other white or Western interests. I'm not a socialist, have never been. I am a conservative capitalist because that is what a natural behavior is. Conservative capitalism, informal trader market, that is conservative capitalism. All right, so that's what I am. So that's a natural state of being of any human being on earth. So that is what I am. So I'm not a socialist. That was coined in the UK itself. It's a foreign ideology, just like communism, just like liberalism, and those isms of evil. All right, so now we have always found ourselves as Zulus being blocked, and we've always seen certain blacks being used to actually replace us. In these days, the same stratagem that was used to use Indians is now used by Indians and still by white people to bring black foreigners to replace Zulus. Same strategy, same system, because we decided to rather use the same evil system built on satanic altars of colonialism, and said we will transform such a system to be South African. It's not. It's not. When you basically are fighting a war, you must replace altars of the previous colonizers and rebuild your own. So this economic system was not supposed to be improved. It was supposed to be abolished and replaced with an economic system of Zulu and black South African system models of that sustained. Especially the Zulu nation was very strong economically, which gave British English a problem. Hence they started the 1879 war to dismantle that economic system. So we need to upgrade, modernize African or Zulu economic systems to replace these foreign economic systems that are running our country, and making and always fronting certain black people to actually fight with us, whereas the actual instigators are sitting in Stellenbosch, Sandton, and them in leisure, in castles with boom gates to defend themselves, and WhatsApp groups of Zulu Khafar and Black Khafar. All right, so now we've got a problem with Venda people, and with Pedi people, and with black foreigners, especially those arrogant, bloody foreigners from Zimbabwe and Nigeria, and all those people who are being used by white people and by Indian people against the Zulu nation and against black South Africans. But then we've got also the enemies called Zubeta Zulus of Soweto and Sandton and all those places. Abantu base-Gauteng abamnyama have always looked at themselves highly. They've always undermined other people from outside Gauteng. So now they've never wanted to be defeated or beaten or outdone by people from other provinces. And in that, they have done a great deal of damage to the black nations of South Africa, or to blacks of South Africa, in terms of making us hamstrung in terms of our performance, because igoli lizoblocka amazulu ukuthi angaphumeleli ngoba lifuna ukuhlolwa amazulu. Lelo goli libe lingekho as talented as those Zulus, bese liyosiphoxa phambi kwabelungu. Ingakho sidelelwa abezizwe because of abantu abamnyama baseGoli, who are a very envious, jealous people who don't want to be outshone. They've always hated Zulus. They've always spoken down upon Zulus. Shockingly, they got joined by Limpopo in that, but Limpopo has always hated Zulu people for a long time, and that is why white people chose the Limpopo folk as kitchen boys even before 1994. Since the 1800s, basically, the Pedi were the kitchen boys in white homes and the likes. It is the truth. The Pedis have rewritten that in the history that is taught by the ANC and put Zulus in kitchen boys. That's a lie. The kitchen boys were Pedis. All right, so now Zulus, instead of correcting those things and challenging them, they're not. All right, those Zulu leaders of yours, Zulus have always passed matric very well. Zulus have always been far more educated than all Limpopo nations and than all black South African nations. Actually, the last time Xhosas were more educated than Zulus was 50 years ago, so they never updated that information. They are as delusional as Zimbabweans who still think that they are the most educated blacks in Africa. Xhosas are like that. Zulus have been leading in everything. They are the nation which became the first black in everything, in almost everything here in South Africa. And then instead of you guys celebrating us, you've been seeking to pull us down, because your nations are natural sorcerers by their make. All right, that is why we were separated out from yourselves, because culture our tagata. All right, Zulus don't come from that culture. So we're not the people who pull other people down naturally. Yes, today there's many Zulus who pull their own brothers down and impress up my neighbors. All right, we see that all the time. Hence, those Zulus in the GNU and them law of pulling their own Zulus down. So those two are our arch enemies. All right, in the scheme of things. Now, I'm saying, Zulu people, you can check all matric results for the previous 40 years. They are the most educated black nation in South Africa. They taught your nations. Your nations were are never trailblazers of anything. Even radio stations were started by Zulus. First medical doctor, first lawyer, first nurse, first teacher, first what. All first are Zulu people. First nuclear scientists. You will never beat those first ever, because they are ingrained in history. Zulus were the first in almost everything. We even created the ANC as the Zulu people. It was founded by us, not by Xhosas. So almost everything was first done by Zulus before your nations. Your nations came with envy instead of basically celebrating the blessing of God upon the Zulu people. And then you have helped white people and all colonizers and the Muslim Indians who are colonizing our country right now. They're being helped by you to do so in your quest to see Zulus poor and suffering and under your feet. You are sorcerers. So now, matric results, it was never Mbilwi the best black school in South Africa. We saw that, and I actually wrote about that to newspapers, and I questioned, why are you always flighting Mbilwi as a passing 100% school in South Africa? I said, why you are putting Mbilwi annually on Sowetan newspaper to deceive and channel stupid brains of Soweto school dropouts to think that vendors are educated? Ngesikhathi uMbilwi wodwa kuphela qha baba uthola 100%, izikole eziningi zaseLimpopo zifeyila. Zulus were having more than 20 schools which have passed by 100%, but they never made it to Sowetan. In Sowetan newspaper and newspapers of Gauteng blacks, they always propagate the image of Zulu savages who murder people, which is basically the same way that Africa is propagated to the Western world as savages who need salvation of white people because we can't rule ourselves, we are savages, we kill each other and all the stuff. That same thing, which is also done by the DA whites, who are representatives of the white colonialists of the Western world, is done exactly by Sowetan blacks as well, against Zulus and against black South Africans who are better than them. They've always went out of the way to basically subjugate that. It is Sowetans who say vendors are educated. I ask them all the time, when did that happen? They don't have facts, they don't have data to prove that, as long as they shilo kunjalo. It's a problem. I've followed matric results since the 80s. I was born in Soweto. I'm a Zulu, proud Zulu, and I know Zulu haters, Zulus who hate us very well right there in Soweto, and in those Zulus bakwanongoma who are busy selling us to the DA. These are or selling us to the DA. Those are self-hating Zulus who are giving these hateful people an edge against the Zulu people. So I'm saying, you go to all matric results and Gazana Paso to Lamazulu. Sankandela Nemangosuthu University of Technology. It was the first black entity like that to teach blacks. And most of your teachers of old studied in the University of Zululand. There was no university in urban black areas, so you studied by coming to homelands. Next, the first time I went to university Soweto was Vista, Okwabu University Yama Dummies. We called it the University of Dummies. So send Funden Manini. You go to Soweto streets, most Yabafana Benu, they are uneducated, they are school dropouts, 60% of them. How can such people even have a weight against Zulu people? La Bafana Baktolela Pema Hostela Lape Koli. bafunde kunabantu baseSoweto. They are more educated than Sowetans. Imfundo by the way akusukukhuluma isingisi. Ngiyabonga.